everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Miss Abigail Kewal, and I'll be the moderator for this afternoon session where we're discussing project-based learning. Miss Dana Daw, can you explain an important language arts approach?
Okay, our approach is project-based learning. Now, what is project-based learning and what is the importance of project-based learning? Now, according to PBL works, project-based learning is a teaching method in which students learn by actively engaging in real-world and personally meaningful projects. So with this approach, it's with PBL, it's also known as PBL. It is a teacher's approach. Teachers, we're all teachers here. And this is a method that we can use or put into our classroom that will help the learners connect with the real world and through the classroom. So they learn actively within this approach. This approach encourages learners to acquire knowledge and skills by working for an extended period of time. So it can even be with this approach, we can do a project for like it takes about 2 days, it can even take a week, it can even take a month. But at the end of it, these children are learning how to investigate, how to explore, how to respond in complex, how to deal with real world problems and questions and challenges. Now, instead of these children positively listening, like we say, talk and talk, these children can be actively engaged. They're learning through critically thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication. So with this approach, these children, because they're actively learning, they're actually actively working together, they develop skills, real life skills that they can use out of the classroom, communication, how to deal with other people around them, how to work with people, because at the end of it, teachers, we know that we have to communicate with each other, how to talk to our colleagues. We know that not all the time we are going to, see eye to eye, but at the end of it, we are going to achieve something. So communication come in here, collaboration, critical thinking, by just giving them, talk and talk, putting things on the board. This is not making the children learn. Sometimes for instance, you want to let the children learn about the environment. You want to let their objective for that lesson is to probably let the children know the importance of cleaning the environment. What we just put on the board, we just have to, pick up paper, or the benefit of it is because our surroundings would be clean, we wouldn't get any germs. Now, yes, these children would memorize these things, get it in their head, but would it stick there for a long time? No, it wouldn't, because they're just listening to it. At least for me, when I was smaller, when I was a kid, I learned most of my learning comes from experiencing, doing things. So letting the children do things with the environment, the example that I give with the environment, where they have to learn about what is the importance of keeping your environment clean. You can give them this project. Today, class, we're going to do a project about keeping the environment clean. I have a little objective for you guys. You guys are going to get some questions to go around and ask the janitors around the school. You're going to go around. It's going to take probably a week. Remember the project-based learning? It don't normally have to be just a day. It can take a week. It can take 2 weeks. But at the end of it, these children will learn the objective. So for instance, you're doing how, the children should what's the importance of keeping the environment weak. So you're going to tell them, okay, it's going to take a week, but today you're going to set out the days. Today you're going to get up your questions for your janitors and get up your questions for your people in the environment or people in your community. The first day you're going to go around, You're gonna ask question about the janitor, how they feel about keeping the environment clean. The next day, you're gonna go around the community, asking parents, asking community workers, what are the importance? What are the benefits? What are the disadvantages of not keeping and picking up papers from the ground? At the end of that fifth day, when the children, at the end of it, you would say, okay, the fifth day now, you're going to create a poster showing the disadvantage of not keeping your environment clean and the advantage of keeping your environment clean. In that way, now the children on the fifth day created their poster, they gather all these information, and at the end of it, they can review, recap on what they learned. Wouldn't these children learn a better way of your objective other than writing the objective on the board and just giving them it right on the board? Oh, we just need to, this is it. Okay, we can pick up paper, we can do this, the importance, and just talk and talk. Instead of doing that, teachers, we can use the project-based approach. So come in again with what is project-based approach. It is a teaching method. It is also a learner-centered approach where we're not only, it's not benefiting the teachers, it is benefiting the learners. And in that case, it's an actively engaging approach for, we can use, it's a teaching method that we can use within our classroom to get the children to learn more properly, more actively. Collaboration would be included and all of that good stuff. So teachers, I'm encouraging you to use this project-based approach when you do come into your classroom. Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Dina would have mentioned what is project-based learning and how it can help us in our everyday life, not only as teachers, but as children, and to make learning fun. So project-based learning or project-based approach can help us understand how an area in the language arts can be taught and learned. For example, promoting active engagement. Now, we basically know that children learn through discovery method a lot, and we try it in classrooms sometimes, and maybe it's successful, maybe not. But for me, and as we all can agree as teachers, that project-based learning has to do with active engagement, sorry. And when we take the children outside of the classroom, they are more excited to go outside rather than to do a project in the class. So promoting active engagement with your pupils would give them a more positive idea of doing the project. For example, in the science project, if we have to do a project on plants, now the teacher would carry the children in the schoolyard and not only about reading the parts of the plant, they would go and see, feel, and touch these parts of the plants and have a different feeling about the discovery method, have the cause and effect relationship by actually feeling the parts of the plant and share with their colleagues. So they're actually having an active engagement there. Another one, it builds real world connection. Now, out of the school, you have to think about out of the school. Now, for example, we taking our children to the supermarket, or we even taking them to the recreational field, or do we say the in Guyanese terms, we say the community playground. This is where they go out and they have real world connection with the issue affecting the community. So they could have they could do a project based on the community play field, or we say the recreational field, as a language arts project. The other one we have here is strengthening communication and collaboration. Now, when we are doing project-based learning, communication is very important here because oftentimes we find some children don't communicate much in the class. So when we group them and we put them to do group work, they may be more comfortable doing their assignment or their project, whatever the teacher is giving the task, and the collaboration will be more positive because when children work together, they get things done faster and they're more comfortable sharing with their colleagues rather than to be just sitting there and doing nothing or don't know what to say or who to say it to.
All right. Thank you, Sir Param. Well, my task this afternoon, my name is Miss Julian John, and my task is to connect the approaches to practice. Well, you know that realistic classroom, I have to give example to show how the approaches can be applied. Well, as my colleagues say, project-based approach allows learners to be presenters, creative, and have communication skills because it sets out to be learners center. You hear the key word here, learner center, right? It's not for us the teacher, it's for the learners. Now, it is a better way for a student to learn since they will be discovering and not the teacher. This approach includes more engagement and a great in-depth of understanding. So once the learners can understand, they will learn. All right? So I have some examples here and I'll share some examples with you. The first one is presenting. Now you know in every case, in order for a learner to learn, they have to present. Now in real life, let's say in our classroom, we have presenters, right? For example, when teaching grammar and we are teaching the topic verb, and the learners have to present on this topic in front of the class, right there and then, they have to think critical, right? And the learners has to think what he or she has to say to present, right? So there and then they have to be critical thinking comes in also with their presentation when they have to present, right? So that's where the project-based learning or the project-based approach helps learners to be presenter. They be brave, bold, they build the courage to present. My next point will be being creative. Do you know that we have very talented learners in our classroom? Once we give them a chance to create something, they be very creative. They can build images or models out of dough, out of blocks, out of cardboard. They're very creative. Now, let's say on Wednesdays, this is for language arts, right? Let's say on Wednesdays, it's storytelling time. And we give each learner a chance, right? So each learner would get a chance to create a video sharing their learners are learning to be creative with technology. Imagine, look at that. You allow them to, when you're doing storytelling, you allowing them to record themselves when they're retelling a story, and there and then they're being creative. You see how good and how best that learning based approach is? Getting the learners involved, right? That is so great so that learning can take place. And when we see that and when learner produce those things, we see that learning takes place. Then my other point would be communication skills. You know, once we have learners in our classroom, they must be able to communicate with each other, the outside world, and we as the teacher. Now, when we're teaching language arts again, we're engaging in role play. Most times when teaching composition, learners will engage in role play in order to help them to get the idea on what to write. Now let's say we have to write a story upon a, a field trip, right? Or let's say we have to write a story about a favorite toy that they like. They would have the ball or they would have a doll or whatever is their choice. Remember, we giving them to choose also. So we can role play in front of the class, and then learners who don't have the idea, they would see right there and then and get idea. Now, in that case there, it helps learners with their language and communication skills when writing composition. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Miss Marissa Ramsinda here. Now, even though we project-based learning, it is great to use for teachers. We as teachers, we may face some challenges when using this approach and when connecting the approach to practice. So some of these challenges are time management. Sometimes we as teachers, we find it really hard. It normally be very challenging for us to work with a time set on a timetable, right? Because sometimes we might have 20 minutes for this subject here, or sometimes even 50 minutes. So depends on the kind of learners we have. We may go overtime, or sometimes we might not be able to finish the task for this day. So we have to put it over to another day, right? Another one is classroom management. When engaging in project-based approach in the classroom, sometimes the learners, they tend to make a set of noise. Remember, it's group we are working with, so we cannot be at one group all the time. We have to be moving from group to offer guidance and support. So sometimes when you go to the other group now, this other group here, they will lose some interest and they start doing their own thing. So that is where classroom management came in, right? Another one is cooperation and collaboration. At times, at times there may be issue with learners, right? There may be issue with learners who working together. Some learners may not be willing to work with others for whatever reason, because they don't want to be in this group. They want to be in this group with their friend, or probably they don't talk with someone, so they are not willing to work with them. Another thing is that they are lack of independence. So remember, lack of independence is when you're working by yourself. So if you can't work by yourself, do you think you can work? Do you think they can work with others? They're not going to contribute anything to that group, right? So that is where cooperation and collaboration become an issue. Another one is incomplete projects. Learners might not be able to complete the work due to loss of interest and focus for whatever reason. They're not interested in this topic, or they don't like this, for example, for science, if they are doing state of matter, right? They don't like this subject, they don't like this topic. So, it gives them no interest. So now when they don't want to do it, and then somebody else may not like it and they don't want to do it. So they're right there and then they will have an incomplete project, right? So.
Okay, teachers, thank you for that discussion. I have some questions that I'm going to ask to each of you. My first question is to Sir. Can you tell me how can students benefit from project-based learning?
Okay, miss. Now, pupils will benefit from project-based learning in different ways, whether it's primary or secondary. One, it helps improve communication. How does this work? Now, when children work in groups, they are more comfortable, and whether they are doing an assignment out of the classroom, whether they are doing assignment in the classroom, once they communicate with their friends, they'll be more comfortable. Another one, enhance teamwork. Now, opportunity improves when children working in peers. So when you work in teams, you get better results. Another one would be improve creativity. Allow people to share their personal knowledge. Now, when children share their personal knowledge, a colleague could learn from them, or we say the peers could learn from them, whether it's designing, whether it's drawing, and so on. Another one will activate their critical thinking. Now, when children work in groups, they would find the solution to a problem. So it improves their critical thinking there also. Thank you, Miss.
Okay, sir. Thank you. My next question goes to Miss Marissa. Can you tell me what are challenges that you would face from project-based learning?
Okay, miss. So as a classroom teacher, I would face many challenges. So some of those challenges would be incomplete project, and that would lead to incomplete project would lead to time management also. And as I stated before, we have different learners in our classroom. So they are working at different levels. So when you set a timer now, Sometimes you go 10 minutes or 50 minutes over that time, all right? That is due to the different level of each learner. Sometimes, all right. Sometimes some of them would not be interested. Some of them, they don't like the topic, so they lose interest. They don't want to focus. All right, so those are some of the challenges that I would face as a classroom teacher. All right.
Okay, Miss Marissa, I have a little follow-up question for you. Can you share some advice with teachers of some ways that they could deal with these challenges?
Okay, so one way, the first way is that it all comes back to planning. You can't just go to the classroom and decide that, okay, I'm going to do this activity today, this group activity today, or this group project. And you have to plan before going into the classroom. You have to gather up your materials, you have to get your content, you have to get whatever you need for this group activity or this group work. You must have it at hand, right? Because if you go without planning, you're going to be twisting, turning, confusing, and you don't know what to do first, what you should do second, or what you should do first day, second day, third day, etc. Right? So before going to the classroom, you must have a complete plan on what you're about to do. So that is one of my advice I would give to the teachers.
Yes, miss, that is nice. That exactly come under time management because time does be very, very limited when it comes to doing project-based learning, especially when you have to create or you have to make or you have to do a design of something. Great, miss. Planning is so good.
Okay, Miss, thank you. My next question goes to Miss Jules or Miss Jolene. Um, how can you say that we can integrate PBL in other subjects?
All right. Well, PBL is a very nice approach for learners. Remember when we were doing our discussion, we say that it's learner center, so it can be integrated in any subject. Let's say we're doing um, social studies and we have to compile a scrapbook on family. That is where PBL comes in. We do integration. Or if we have a topic we're doing for literacy studies, where our general topic is the family, and then for social studies is where we're gonna compile a scrapbook. So that is where integration comes in. When we talk and we discuss about family in literacy, and then we do the actual work in social studies. And next, where we can integrate it also into science. Let's say we want to make the model of the teeth. We can make the model of the teeth. We have 4 types of teeth. We can make the model of all 4. That is where integration comes in. Another way we can integrate PBL, we can integrate it into mathematics. Some children, they don't like sit down and look at things. They rather get involved. So we can make an abi Yes, another example is that we can integrate it into mathematics. We can use the bottle corks. We can make shapes with those corks. We can get the cardboards and we can outline the cardboards, we can cut them out, and then we can design them using the corks. There's another way we can introduce PBL. That's where the learners are actively engaging. They're seeing how it's made, and it will be a 3D object, which will be very, very good for them. They would retain that memory because they look at it, they create it, and it's something that they construct by themselves. All right. So that is ways as we can integrate PBL into other subject area, which is a great ideal for teaching in order for pupils or learners to, let's say, grasp the concept, or your objectives can be achieved by using PBL. Thank you.
Just wanted to add to that piece. With the PBL, remember we talked where the main focus is about language arts. So with all the PBL is all the engaging stuff, and we're engaging these learners are doing project, it's taking us this. With all of that, these children are being able to communicate better. They're developing their language skills better, their comprehension skills better. Language in general is being developed better in this PBL project-based learning experience. So yes, thank you.
Okay, Miss Dinah, would you say that project-based learning approach is the best one?
Okay, great question. Thank you for asking. I wouldn't say that it's the best, but I would say it's one of the best. We have a lot of teaching approaches we can use. There's the silent way, the task-based approach, we have the literacy-based approach. All of these approaches are there to help learners learn a little better. But today we're just talking about the project-based approach. This is one of the best way. It's a way, again, we have a lot of diverse learners in our classroom. Every child learns differently. They have their who learns better drawing, who learns learning manipulating stuff, reading stuff. But with the project-based learning, this includes all of that. They include all the diverse learners. They learn how to, this project can be outside. This project can, they're jotting down, they're writing stuff. So with the project-based learning, I wouldn't say it's, the best or the worst, but I would say it's one of the best. And it's one way we can put this project or put this way of teaching into our classroom. Thank you.
Okay, just to add what Miss just said. So teachers across the country in different school, promise me that you're going to try this project-based learning. You will not regret it. Trust me, you're going to thank me later.
As Miss just said there too, when you use project-based learning approach, you see results. Because when the children participate, you would look at them and you would admire how they do things, and they can do things very, very good by learning from each other. So you would not regret using PBL. Teachers, please use PBL.
Yes, and remember, this is not about the teacher. This is about the children. This is where they are going to discover new things, right?
And again, they're also developing their language skills. I'm very imposed on language because to me, in Guyanese classroom, I for my I've went into classroom and there are problems with writing composition. When these children have this experience, they now would be able to, talk about it, formulating words, pronouncing, getting to learn different words, getting to learn different terms. What does this term mean? They're getting to ask their colleagues questions, getting to ask someone else out of their classroom. So they're developing these language skills, being more brave, and preparing themselves for the real world out there, because at the end of it, their achievement into coming into the classroom is to get a job. Obviously, we need to work, and within that work field, there's different challenges. And with the project-based learning, they're being able to collaborate, to being able to work with their colleagues, and these are all real life aspects that is needed for living life and to developing life skills. So with the project-based learning, it's a very good approach to use within the classroom. So yes, we are encouraging our team members with the project-based learn approach. We're encouraging all of you teachers to just try it, see how it works, and you can even give us your review on it afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you for all of that information about project-based learning. It has been very, very much informative, and it will be of much use to all of these teachers, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.